For those wondering, yes, I was wearing pink at my screening. Hey there, Cinephiles. Today, I will be reviewing Mean Girls the Musical. That's right, Mean Girls is back on the silver screen as an adaptation of the stage musical, which of course was an adaptation of the movie from 2004, which of course was based off of a book, and I didn't know that until recently. But anyways, before I get into my thoughts on the movie itself, I just had one major question, and that's why in the world was the marketing so bad for this? You have a movie that could genuinely be the first hit of 2024, and from the posters to the trailers, nothing got me excited for this at all. Not only that, but it didn't clearly show how this was a musical. Now, I knew it was going to be a musical going into it, but for those who aren't chronically online or keeping up with upcoming movies, this may come to be a shock to them. And just last month, a lot of people were surprised that Wonka was a musical due to this similar marketing. So this could majorly backfire if it happens again so soon. But anyways, let's get into my thoughts on the film itself now. To be completely honest, prior to the screening, I was talking with the bestie, who's also a fan of the original film, and neither of us were really excited to watch this. We weren't expecting anything great, but we were hoping just that the movie could be slightly decent. But now having seen it, I am excited to say that the film was actually pretty good. Of course, there are some issues with it, but we both walked away satisfied with this iteration. This new take is actually going to be a crowd pleaser and is super enjoyable. From the casting to the humor to some genuinely cool choices in the filmmaking itself, there's a lot going for this. However, simultaneously, there's also a lot going against this film too, and the cinematography is the perfect example of this. It's shot like a Walmart commercial for 40% of it, but then it's also shot with this great style and interesting camera movements for another 40%, and then the rest is just normal movie coverage. But there's also a lot of the set design and costumes that felt a bit cheap. There were a lot of cool details, but it felt like some scenes were not meant to be seen on that big of a screen. And the inconsistency in the filmmaking is crazy to me because there are some really cool shots in here with some great oneers. But then they're quickly met with TV movie lighting and poor framing in the following scene. But let me get back to the positives again. I did find myself laughing a lot more than I thought I would. I mean, it's no bottoms, but there is some smart writing in here. The inclusion of social media and technology does update this story in some interesting ways. In general too, when this started to do its own thing and actually stand on its own, those are the scenes and moments that I remember much more than the ones that they had to do beat for beat just because they were in the original. I understand there's going to be a big chunk of the audience that are going to watch this just to see how they recreated the bits from the 2004 version, but I'm glad I actually enjoyed the newer stuff more. That being said, not everything that is new landed. There are a couple of songs in here that I just didn't like. But musically, everything is forgiven every single time that Regina George sings. World Burn has been such an earworm for me ever since I got out of my screening. And to that point, I actually do wish we got more of Renee Rapp being Regina. She was such a highlight of the film, and it just felt like she wasn't in the movie quite as much as Rachel McAdams was back in the day. But overall, the whole cast was pretty good, from the newcomers to the ones who came from the last one. Although I still don't love the casting for Aaron Samuels. Sorry. But shout out to Damien, who was obviously the best. Unfortunately, another issue I had with the movie is that there was this major stall of momentum and energy towards the beginning of the second act. Granted, the film did start off strong with a oneer and some good songs, but as soon as we started to get into some familiar beats, I was a little worried. But once the new style came in, and definitely by the end of the film, I was just smiling so much from the fun. The screening I went to definitely helped as well. It was a mix of press and an actual audience that got to see the movie early, and because of this, it felt like Barbie Part 2. The energy was through the roof, and there was so much pink in the room that I was worried there would be a pink shortage once again. But it's also due to the energy of the crowd that I ended up enjoying this movie a bit more. So definitely watch this with as big of a crowd as you can. As for how it stands to the original, it's all preference, but to me, this is a worthy retelling of this story. It's different enough from its 20-year-old predecessor, and it's actually good. As for which one I prefer, it would just depend on my mood if I want a musical or just a comedy. In the end, though, I give Mean Girls 2024 a 3 out of 5 stars. It's just such a fun time. Hopefully this will be this year's big first hit in theaters. It might not be as great as the first one for you, but if you go in with an open mind, you'll at the very least have a pleasant time. But alright, those are my thoughts on the new Mean Girls. Be sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Also, let me know which one you prefer. As always, thank you guys for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Be sure to stay tuned for more Yeti Films content, and I'll watch you later.